Live. We're doing it. We're doing it. We'll talk about all things in the world of swimming, some current news, some current events. And real quick, as we get started, so here's how the show is going to work. I've got a list of main topics. Actually, that's a joke. Today, I have one main topic that I'm going to get through. I've got a couple different bullet points for that topic that I want to discuss. How COVID-19, how this virus, how this pandemic is affecting the swimming world. We've got a bunch of different little things within that. And then I am going to take your questions. Now, first off, how do you get a question or a topic answered by me on the show? It's simple. First of all, you can send me an email to TheCodyMillerShow@gmail.com. That's TheCodyMillerShow@gmail.com. And maybe, just maybe, you'll get a topic on the show. But to get your topic or question guaranteed answered by me, you can click the link in the description of this video or the link in my bio to the Stream Elements Lab. To Stream Elements. If you tip like a couple dollars, that will guarantee that your question gets answered. And all of that money, all those tips are going to get donated to a foundation to help support COVID relief, which is great. And it benefits you guys because it guarantees that you get your question answered by me. Because guys, I got to tell you, I get thousands of emails on like a monthly basis, hundreds of emails on a weekly basis. I can't possibly go through all of them. So I think I'm going to, if I start doing more of these live shows, if you guys want me to do more of these, which I'd be happy to do, I'm going to keep utilizing Stream Elements because it gives you an opportunity to donate. It gives me an opportunity to donate some money, and it guarantees that you get your question. You get your question on the show, which is great. So I think that's it. Oh, and then if I have a little bit more time, we'll see how long this goes. Then I'll take some questions from the chat board. I see there are a lot of you guys in there right now. So without further ado, let's get started. So the main topic today is the effect of COVID on swimming. And I have a whole lot of thoughts about this, and I'm going to unload them now. So right now we're living in a state of quarantine. We're in lockdown, and it is affecting every aspect of the world, and it's certainly affecting the swimming world. And I'm going to start from the very top and work my way down of pieces and elements of the swimming world that I think this is drastically going to affect. And so like at the very top, the one that is most interesting to me is obviously the Olympic Games. Number one, hopefully by that time, we will have some type of vaccine for this virus, right? We'll have some type of vaccine, some type of shot that you can take. So I would imagine that prior to the games, if this vaccine is available, I would imagine that the International Olympic Committee would require all of its athletes to have this vaccination done before entering the village, before showing up at the games. That's a likelihood. Now, normal vaccines take several years to develop. So the likelihood of us having a vaccine next summer, I don't really know. Obviously, we've never seen anything like this, so they're really pushing things. They're working their very best. But, best case scenario, we have a vaccine, and then all of the athletes at the games are safe, right? Or what I believe is probably a little bit more likely is this virus is still going to be around. Like I could be wrong about this. I don't know. I'm just a swimmer. But I don't think this virus is going to be gone by next summer. I think it's still going to be around. I think that there's a chance that this could be something similar to the flu where it comes around every year. Maybe there's different strands of it. Hopefully that's not the case. But if that is the case, then I would imagine that athletes going to the games would probably have to get tested. I believe that there are tests now that give you results within a few hours. And guys, I'll tell you from experience, when you show up at the Olympic Games, when you show up to the village, there is a long procedure of things that you have to do prior to entering the village. There's check-in, there's forms, there's a whole lot of stuff. You get your credentials, but I could see the Olympic Committee setting something up where everybody who shows up has to get a test. And obviously, if you test positive for COVID, you probably wouldn't be allowed into the village, or they would quarantine you. Man, imagine how horrible that would be. The games get postponed. You train for a whole nother year. You show up to the games, and then they won't let you into the village, and maybe not even let you standpoint. Now, let's move on to another section of the Olympic Games. How this virus is going to affect the games as far as performance, right? That's one of the biggest things. That's one thing that interests me the most. How fast is the games going to be, right? How drastically affected will the overall results of the Olympics be because of this virus? Because right now, all over the world, there are people that aren't training. There are people who aren't in the pool, or there are people who can't do their current respective sport, whatever it is. And I'll tell you what I think. Do I think that next summer of 2021, that we would have seen summer of 2020 if this pandemic never occurred? The answer, yes. I think that they'll be relatively the same. I think that there is going to be an effect. There will be a definite effect. But I think that in terms of times that it will take to medal, I think that in terms of times that it will take to make the final, to make top 8, or maybe even top 16 at the Olympic Games, I think that those will still be the same. And here's why. I think that the majority of the athletes that are of the caliber to win medals at the Olympic Games or to swim in a final at the Olympic Games, although they may not be on the same training schedule that they would like to be right now, they're still working their asses off. They're still cranking. They're still working hard. And let's not forget, there are still people training. There are still people swimming. Maybe not to the level that they want to, maybe not a normal schedule, but it's still happening. And I think that the people who are of that caliber, the people who are good enough to win medals, who are good enough to set world records, and there's a lot of people out there, you can go down the list, name by name by name, those people are getting it done right now. Those people are working hard right now when nobody else is watching, and they're still going to be successful next summer. So I think that overall, it's still going to be great. It's still going to be fantastic. It's still going to be fast. But I do think that there will be an effect. I think that after top 16, maybe say there's 100. I actually off the top of my head don't know how many people come as they would have been the year prior. But I think overall, if we look at an average, I think that there will be an effect, and I think that it will be slower. To what extent, I don't know. I do think there will be an effect. But as far as the things that we really focus on, as far as the things that we really pay a whole lot of attention to, the top tier people, I don't think there's going to be a drastic effect. I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I certainly think that, the gold medalists in the Olympics that we would have had this summer, I think will likely be the gold medalists that we have next summer. Obviously, there's some room for debate here and there. A year's a long time. A lot can happen. But overall, I think that the most determined people, the people with the strongest will and the strongest drive, are getting it done right now, and they will be okay next summer. So as far as COVID affecting swimming on the Olympic level, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below or in the chat room right now if there's things that I'm not thinking of. But yeah, now let's move to the next tier, how this pandemic is affecting swimming. The second thing that I'm most curious about and most interested in is how it's going to affect the NCAA swimming here in the United States, because that's one of my favorite things to watch. Obviously, you guys know I train with the college team here at Indiana. I love following college swimming. I love it. How is this going to affect NCAA swimming? Well, I think similarly to the way that I feel about the Olympics, I think we will see similar trends. It's very fascinating to me that this is the first time that this has ever happened, where everyone across America right now, every high-level program, any program of any level, really, none of them are able to hold practices right now. Nobody is able to train right now. And we're going on a month. And it could be another month or two before everything is back to normal, maybe even more. I'm hearing rumors that certain conferences in the NCAA aren't going to allow practices to begin before August 1st. August 1st. It's mid-April. That's like another 3.5 months. That's a long time to go without organized practices. And a lot of those college swimmers aren't really getting the job done, aren't really training. So I think that there's going to be a big effect. And here's another thing. What's interesting, it will be interesting to look at the results of the NCAA championships. And when I say the NCAA championships, I'm speaking for for Division I, the Division I of the NCAA championships. But I think that it's pretty much the same across the board for all the divisions. I think that depending on where you're at in the country, depending on what school you go to, what state you're at, and what conference you're at is going to affect likely when you're able to start training again, right? Because say you're at a school in California, that state might be on lockdown longer than other states, potentially, versus a school that's in like Wyoming or a school that's in Oklahoma, or even a school that's in Indiana. We don't know. Although from what I'm hearing right now, it sounds like the Big Ten Conference, which is where Indiana is located, we're not going to be able to have real practices until probably August. So it's very, very interesting. When we look at the results after next season, to be like, okay, which programs, when were they allowed to start training, right? How long were programs out of a training period? How long were they not allowed to compete together? How long were they not allowed to train together? Like what's going to happen? That is very, very interesting to me. So yeah. And the other thing is, how is this going to affect turnout for swim meets? So, I've talked a little bit about the Olympic level. I've talked a little about the NCAA level. The next thing I guess that I can move into is, how is this going to affect club swimming, right? A lot of my viewers are club swimmers across the world, across America. I read an article on SwimSwam that talked about how SCS, the Southern California Swimming District, is planning for basically an aid package or a relief package for club teams that are at risk of folding because they can't pay their bills right now, right? That's great that those things are, that entities are working on helping those clubs, but and I certainly hope, as we all do, that there aren't any clubs that go under because they can't sustain their overhead, they can't pay their coaches, members have to drop off. There's a lot of reasons why a club would struggle, but it's probably inevitable that some clubs go under, unfortunately. And we hope that that's not the case. But it will be interesting to see on a club level when teams are able to start swimming again, when teams are able to start hosting meets again. Because right now, speaking from the American perspective, it looks like the United States government has started to roll out a plan of my dog is scratching at the door. Is starting to roll out a plan of starting to reopen the U.S. economy. So how does that affect swimming? Well, as this plan rolls out, basically in a nutshell, if I'm understanding this correctly, on a state-by-state basis, if the state is showing a downward trend of positive tests and of death rates and of all those factors that go into how the overall health of the state is doing. If there is a 14-day trend in a downward trajectory, then you can move into phase 1. You can start opening things up, right? You can start opening up some businesses, and small gatherings of like 20 people or 50 people or less are now like legal again. That's going to slowly unravel, right? Now, as this slowly unravels and as swimming is like allowed again, it's going to be interesting to see how clubs respond, right? It's going to be interesting to see how certain parents allow their kids to go back. It's going to be interesting to see what meets are run because everything is canceled. There's so many questions and there's so many things up in the air right now that are intriguing that I don't have the answer to. But it's definitely affecting clubs hard. I've talked to several club coaches, head coaches that run clubs that are really, really struggling right now, as a lot of businesses are, that don't know what they're going to do, that can't pay coaches, that can't pay employees, there's no end in sight. They don't know when this is going to end. And it's just like a big waiting game. But it will be interesting to see what the outcome of club meets are across America and across the world, because I think that we all have this hope and this dream inside that like, okay, once they release this quarantine, once this thing is over, then it's just going to be over, right? Then we can go back to swimming as usual. We can go back to living our life as usual. And as much as I want that to be the case, I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. I think that this thing is still going to be around. I think that it's here to stay. And I think that it's going to take a lot more time for things to go back to normal than we would like. I could be wrong, but I think that, the idea of shaking someone's hand and like working out next to them is like, obviously that's very taboo right now. That's a big no-no. But like, is that going to be socially acceptable? Are those things going to be socially acceptable again? I don't know. And then the debate rages on about whether or not it's even safe to swim. Like, does COVID live in chlorine? That kind of thing. I saw an interesting article on where was it? It was on the world. Where was it? I think it was on US Master. Yeah, it was on usmastersswimming.com. Did an interesting article a little while back, basically on COVID, where they asked a specialist to talk about whether or not it's safe to swim given COVID, whether or not COVID can live in chlorine. And basically, my takeaway, and this data could be outdated, this could be wrong, but from reading that article, it looked like they're saying that, yeah, COVID can't live in pool water, just like, any other virus can't live in pool water. Like, chlorine's going to kill it. But the way COVID is spread is through air. It's through contact. It's through coughing on one another. It's through touching. It's through swapping saliva or whatever. And so, theoretically, COVID might not live in the pool, but it could be on the pool deck. It could be on your water bottle. It could be on the gym facility that you're in. It could be on surfaces. So obviously, the idea of going to a swimming pool, knowing that COVID can't live in the pool, like, might be comforting, but the reality is it's kind of everywhere else surrounding that pool. So it's not like you're in a pool and all of a sudden you're safe, right? But it's nice to know though that like chlorine obviously like kills flu viruses, it kills other things, but people can still get sick because people are breathing on each other on the wall and stuff. So that's another interesting thing about, club teams that have a lot of swimmers. What's the protocol going to be like when you reopen your pool, when you reopen your facilities and you're allowed to host practices again? Is there going to be a threshold, a number of people that are allowed to be in the pool at the same time? Is there going to be a number of swimmers that are allowed to be in the pool at the same time? I'm sure there's going to be crazy debates amongst swimming parents about what they should do, what they shouldn't do. Clubs are going to discuss things. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. This whole thing is madness. So, as far as COVID affecting club teams, there's a lot to unpack there. There's a whole lot to unpack there. And I don't know. It's very, very interesting. Okay, so those are my overall thoughts. Some random thoughts on how this is affecting the swimming world. Obviously, there's a whole lot more that goes into it. But those are my general thoughts. And so that's it for the main topic today. As I said, typically when I do these live streams, as I plan to, I'm probably going to take a number of topics from viewers submitted emails. But this is what I wanted to talk about today. So as we move on, the next portion of the show, I'm going to take live questions from you guys. And how I do that is, as I said earlier in the show, to get a topic or a question answered by me on the show, it's easy. Click that Stream Elements link in the description of this video or in the bio of my Instagram page, and that will take you to the page, and you can drop a tip and ask a question. And the awesome thing about that is that money is going to get donated to COVID. I keep wanting to call it to COVID relief, which is great. And it guarantees that you get your question answered by me. So I'm going to go through those first. And without further ado, let's get started. So one more benefit. The other benefit of using the Stream Elements link is you don't have to answer the question. You don't have to ask it right now. Like if you're watching live, you can ask a question live. You can use the Stream Elements link, or you can send in a super chat. But the nice thing about the Stream Elements link is you guys can submit them anytime. So literally any time you open that link, you can submit a question, and then it will likely be the first question on the next show. So that kind of works out as well. Okay. So without further ado, the first question today comes to us from Elliot DeStefani. I will butcher names. I'm sorry. I'm going to do my absolute best. So Elliot asks, what advice would you give to help me stay mentally motivated through the quarantine? I am currently swimming for Sparks Piranhas in Sparks, Nevada. I know where that's at. And we no longer have a pool during the shutdown. Also, can you send me an autograph? Okay, first of all, thank you for the $20 donation. That's awesome. So as far as the autograph goes, I'm working on getting something set up on my merch store where people can get signed caps through that. So stay tuned on that. But for the first part of your question, as far as staying motivated, the one thing I'll say is this. Right now, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling unmotivated, if you're feeling lost and you don't know how to handle it, you don't know how to cope with it, the first step in getting over that hump is understanding that it's okay to feel that way. That's normal. You should feel that way. I know a lot of national teamers and Olympic swimmers around the country right now that feel that same way that you do. So that's okay. As far as staying motivated, the hardest thing to do is take that first step, right? Like the hardest part of the day, as I always say, is the best part of the day is diving in the pool, because I think that is the hardest thing to do. Once you're in the pool, you can go. Like it's over. Like you've done it, you started, you're going, you then have momentum. Obviously, we can't swim in the pool right now. So as far as working out outside of the pool and staying motivated, you have to do something. You have to do something active. You have to have some goal or some objective that you're working to complete, and you have to take the first step. That's it. I think that once you take the first step, you gain momentum and it gets easier over time. I really believe that. I think that by forcing yourself to do things, like for me, for example, I'm doing a whole lot of stuff right now around the house that I wouldn't normally do, and things that I don't really like to do. But in doing those things over time, it gets easier. It really does. I feel that way. So, I hope that helps. Staying motivated, I think that sticking to a routine helps people stay motivated. Like it's really easy right now to fall out of a routine and wake up whenever you feel like, and not really have any direction and not really have any discipline, because there's not a whole lot going on. But for me, the bottom line is you have to find things to do. You have to schedule things. And in doing that, that will allow you to have the discipline to follow through with things. That's how I'm coping with things, and that's probably the best piece of advice that I can give. So I hope that helps. Thank you for the question. And our next question comes to us from Will Birdsong, who says, "Hey Cody, love your vlogs." Thank you. I appreciate it. You have the best podcast too, by the way. Awesome. Thank you. I will take this moment to plug my podcast. Yes, during this whole pandemic, I have officially started that I am going to continue to do at least one podcast a week, mostly with Olympic swimmers that I train with. A few of those are available now on the YouTube channel, but all of them are available on the podcasting platforms, Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. And, I'm not going to be putting them on YouTube anymore. They're going to stay on that podcast outlet. So if you guys want to listen to the podcast in the future, please subscribe to my podcast, on Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're interested in just hearing, the way that I run my podcast, sir, it's just a casual conversations where I talk with people that I find interesting, people that I like about swimming. And if you're interested in that, do you do mostly stretching or yoga? Also, what are your thoughts on caffeine for swimming during swim practices or races? Okay. As far as stretching goes, right now, my stretching routine is totally different than it normally is. But essentially, I spend anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes every night, watching TV with Allie, where I'm sitting on a foam rolling, or I'm stretching with stretch bands. And I usually do static stretching at night because I'm pretty much already all warmed up from my day of exercise or whatever I was doing. Obviously you don't want to do static stretches like really early in the morning because your muscles aren't warmed up. But I can't go into all the details about how I do my stretches. I think eventually I'll make a video on that. But the second part of your question, as far as caffeine, I think that caffeine can be a real benefit. I'd take small amounts of caffeine before races on race days. And then some here and there during the week. I do like a little bit of tea. I do some black teas, some green teas, not a whole lot. I think the important thing is just not overdoing it. Because for me, I'm really sensitive to caffeine. So if I take a lot of caffeine, I have a hard time sleeping. Thank you for the question. Okay. And the next question comes to us from Will Birdsong, who says, another one who says, "Hi, Cody, love your channel. Have you ever heard of swimmers taking a gap year after high school to get faster so that they have more for college opportunities?" I have heard of a few people doing that. I've heard of, a lot of high-level national team swimmers doing that, particularly if they're training with the program where they're doing really well and they want to try to make the Olympics, and it's like the year of the Olympics, or it's a really big year. I have heard about that. I don't think that kind of thing is super popular here in America. I think that more often than not, kids right out of their senior year of high school go to college if they're going to go to college and try and swim in college. I think that is something that is completely dependent on an individual basis. Like if you think that one more year of training with your program or doing something different is really going to benefit you and help you maybe get a scholarship, or swim somewhere of a higher caliber, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it is. But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts. I think it's an individual basis. I do know some people that have done it successfully, but I also know some people that have done it that it didn't work out the way that it wanted to. So it's just kind of an individual thing. Okay. Next question comes to us from Gray, who says, love you, Cody, and wanted to help. Thank you. $10 tip. Oh, no question. Well, thank you for dropping that in. As I said, all this money is going to get donated. I super, super appreciate it. Thank you very much. The next question comes to us from Will Z, who says, I love your vlog. You are so inspirational. I try. How much longer do you plan on swimming professionally? What will you do after? Great question. I plan on swimming professionally with no end in sight. I do not have an end date. I don't have, after the games, I'm going to be done. I don't know. We're fortunate that we live in a time right now where the ISL has so much promise and so much potential. There's a lot that can be done with the ISL. So in the ISL about potential future opportunities. So that's kind of cool. But hopefully my hope is that I can keep making swimming videos and that my channel will continue to grow. I can find new ways to, increase funding so that I can support myself and my family so that I'm able to keep swimming, Right now, it's really nice that I'm able to make these videos. I'm getting sponsors, and that supports my lifestyle. It allows me to keep making videos for YouTube. So yeah, thank you very much for the question. And our next question comes to us from Matt, who says, "Hi, Cody. What do you think about running for swimmers in this particular time? Is it better to ride a bike? Stay safe." Great question. I think running is great. I really do. The only thing I'll say is for swimmers who don't run regularly, like myself, you have to build yourself into it, right? You don't want to go out and just run 10 miles. You want to build into it. Like I'm running a lot now, more than I've ever run before, but I've really built myself into it slowly. But I think it can be great. I think biking is a better option because it's better for your joints. And there's less risk of injury technically. But yeah, I think it's great. I really do. Thank you for the question. Next question comes to us from Anonymous. And Anonymous says, I truly love this fundraising. Stay healthy. We will make it through this time together. Greetings from Germany. Well, thank you so much for dropping in that comment. I super appreciate it. And that's awesome that there's someone from Germany watching this. That's really cool. Let's see. Next one comes from Brenda, who says, best way to treat inflammation of the shoulder tendon to keep swimming. Okay, so as far as shoulder inflammation, number one, make sure that you're doing some tissue work. Make sure that you're rolling it. Make sure you get a lacrosse ball, a tennis ball, something so that you're rolling out that area to increase the blood flow, right? You want to break up some of that muscle fascia a little bit. The second thing I recommend is I'm a real big proponent of certain CBD creams. There are certain inflammation reducing CBD creams that I've used on my knees that are great. So I think that there's some good stuff out there. Obviously, you want to make sure you get yourself a high quality product. But as far as active stuff to reduce tension, make sure you're stretching and rolling it every single day. That's the only thing I can say. Like right outside the rotator cuff, get a lacrosse ball, roll up and down on the side in there. Try to lay on it right in here. Get in there. Try to hit your subscap. Try to loosen up all that stuff. That's really what I would say. Okay, thanks for the question. And our next question comes to us from Jim Smith. And Jim Smith tips $50. Thank you so much, Jim. That's a really big donation. Really appreciate it. Okay, so for your question, please describe your feelings and thoughts when you saw for the first time how huge the Rio Swim Stadium was and how you were able to keep it together standing on the blocks next to Adam Peaty in the finals with the eyes of the world focused on the race. Oh, great question. So the first time I laid eyes on the Rio pool, it was really cool. We had a walkthrough as a team. We showed up, Team USA showed up as a unit, and it was really cool because it was day one, and we walked through together, and they were kind of giving us the lay of the land, saying, okay, here's the doping control room, here's ready room number 1, here's ready room number 2, this is the way you'll go. Because when you're swimming an event in the Olympics, it's like you're like a mouse in a maze that you have to travel through all these different areas before you even get to the block. And we're walking through everything, and we walked out, and I remember looking at the pool, and not to diminish the moment and not to be ungrateful of the gravity of the first moment that we were there, but I was standing with Bob Bowman, who's Michael Phelps' coach, and I'm looking at the pool and I'm like, okay. And Bob asked me, he says, so what do you think? And I turned to him and I said, well, it looks like just another pool. And I don't mean to diminish like the gravity and the magnitude of the games and the venue itself, but fortunately for me, I had successfully been through the gauntlet that is United States Olympic trials. And that is in an arena that is just as large, maybe even slightly larger than the Rio arena. And I, fortunately for me, had been through that arena a couple of times, right? The first time I swam US Olympic trials was in 2008 when I was like 16. And then I swam trials in 2012. And then I swam trials in 16 again when I made it. So I'd swam in big venues like that before. So I had that experience. And as far as swimming next to someone like an Adam Peaty, who everyone knew was probably going to win, barring some kind of crazy miraculous thing, was going to win. You know, like we kind of knew that. And so everyone else is just racing for a spot on the podium. And I, once again, fortunately, had some experience swimming against people that I knew were faster than me, that I knew should beat me. You know, when I was 16 years old, right after the Beijing Olympic Games, where Japanese breaststroker comes as a high schooler, which was super, super lucky. So I knew what it was like to stand next to a dude that had set world records and that should, by all stretch of the imagination, should beat me. And so, you know, when I got to the games and when I was standing next to a guy like a Cameron Vandenberg, who was the former world record holder and Olympic champion, I had preparation for those moments of, you know, racing people that should beat me. Not to take away the gravity and the magnitude of those situations, because they were unreal. They are crazy. But I'll tell you what, right now, there's not a hole in a trainer free. It's the same thing. It's one guy who's faster than you on paper. But guess what? When you get up on the blocks and you get ready to race, everyone starts with 0. Everyone is exactly the same. And when that beep goes off, anything can happen. And you kind of have to go through those experiences. And, you know, of course, nothing can really prepare you for those things except going through those kinds of experiences where you're just terrified. Like I remember what it's like to be absolutely terrified to swim against Olympic swimmers. Like that was me not that long ago. I remember that very clearly. Very, very clearly. So yeah, I mean, you know, you do your best to prepare for certain moments, and sometimes that's all you can do. Thank you so much for the question and that generous donation. Okay, next question comes to us from Jonathan Lesage, who says, how many miles a week have you been running and at what pace? Okay, so I've been running quite a bit, as you guys saw in my most recent vlog. I don't know how many per week because I'm not running every day. I'm running because I'm still able to work out in other ways, right? Like I'm still able to use the gym. I'm still able to get in the pool a little bit, but you know, I'm running every weekends and some days. So on a weekly basis, I don't know. Like I've built up from where I started running just 2 miles and I've built up to over like basically over 10. But as far as what pace, dude, I'm running at a swimmer's pace. Like I'm definitely not a runner. I'm running like 8-9 minute miles, you know, like not maybe a little under that, like depending on how hilly the route is, because a lot of the routes I'm taking are really hilly. So I would not compare your running to me. Don't compare yourself to me because I'm not that guy. That's not what should be done. Okay. And our next question comes to us from Daniel Conwell. And Daniel says, hi, Cody. Thanks for everything you do for the community. Thank you. I appreciate that. Your vlogs are always a highlight of my week. How do you train and race differently at high altitudes, such as at the US OTC? Any particular strategies in or out of the pool? Great question, Daniel. I love going up to training camp at the US OTC. Side note, before we were put on lockdown here in America, before they shut everything down, I had a meeting on a Thursday night at IU where we found out that everything was canceled and everything was likely getting closed. And then a couple days later, we were swimming at the local YMCA here because that was the only pool that was open. And then they went on lockdown shortly later. But right in that window of time, we were discussing what to do if everything gets shut down. And we were like, let's go up to the OTC, me and a bunch of my training partners. And I packed my car, I packed everything up, and I was ready to drive to the OTC the next morning. I was going to head to the OTC because we thought if every pool in America is going to get closed, then the last resort, right, kind of the last stand was probably going to be the Olympic Training Center. Like, they're going to keep it open for the Olympians. Come to find out that next morning when I was going to leave, I got a call from Russell Mark, who's one of the high performance directors at USA Swimming. And he was like, actually, he texted me and he's like, yo, dude, this place is likely going to get shut down. So we didn't go. But that was part of the plan. Like, we were going to head up to the training center and kind of wait it out there, but that didn't work out. And a lot of national team swimmers, United States swimmers that were up there basically got kicked out because it closed. But as far as training up there, that is hard. I think in my experience, it usually takes like a week to acclimate. It usually takes like a full week and kind of ease yourself into it, right? Like the first swim practice up at altitude, we never really kill ourselves because your body has to start producing those blood cells that are going to allow you to carry the oxygen. That's why you go up to altitude. It's hard. So yeah, that's my story. I hope that, I mean, I can't really say anything else as far as advice. When you go to altitude, you've got to make sure that you're drinking more water, that you're staying hydrated. You're drinking, obviously staying hydrated, and you're getting enough sleep, which is true all the time. But when you go to altitude, when there's an extra factor looming over you that's going to prohibit your ability to recover, that's what you got to do. Okay, awesome question. Thank you so much. Next question comes to us from Coach Ulysses, who says, what are some of the best qualities in a swim coach, i.e. what constitutes a great coach in your opinion? Well, there is a whole lot about this topic that we could dive into. But for me, I'll just list the two things that I think, for me, are most important in a coach. Number one, you have to get a coach that makes you believe in things that you did not think were possible. Your coach has to inspire you in a way that you can't do yourself. Like, I remember as an age group swimmer, Ron Aiken of the Sandpipers in Nevada, I wrote down goal times and he wrote down goal times for me, and his times are way faster than mine. He's like, I think you can break these records, right? Like, I think you can go on Olympic trials cut. I never would have thought that I could have qualified for United States Olympic trials as a high school boy unless I had a coach that told me I could do it. And Ron did. Ron said, I think you can do it. And that was at a time when I think in 2008, there were only a handful of high school boys that actually made trials. Like, I think me and maybe Kyle Whitaker and one other dude qualified at our age, which was like a really special thing for me. So number one, they have to get you to believe in something that you wouldn't normally do or believe in. Number two, they have to get you to do things that you don't want to do. They have to get you to do things that you didn't think you could do. So, for example, I'll use Ray for an example this time. Ray is the king of giving you sets that you don't even think you can do with times you don't think you can hold, and he gets you to do them, right? And oftentimes he gets you to do them just by forcing you to do it and encouraging you along the way. And there's a whole lot that goes into that, but that's the biggest thing. Yeah. Thank you for the question. All right. And our next question comes to us from Gretchen, who says, hi there. Just wondering how you stay motivated when thinking about how hard training is going to be when we all get back in the pool. Yeah, this is something that everybody is dealing with. And it's definitely going to be hard for people who are out of the water for a month or 2 months to get back into it. That's going to be a true challenge. That will be a true challenge. But I think that to stay motivated, the number one thing you can do is have perspective, right? You have to understand that there's nothing else you can do. And you have to understand that there's no reason to be scared of this if you're doing things on your own to ensure that coming back is going to be as seamlessly as it could be, right? So like if you're doing your best to stay active outside of the water right now, then there's no reason to fear getting back in the water. Because guess what? Everybody else is going to be in that same position. Everybody else is going to be struggling. Everybody else is going to be out of shape. You're likely going to be a bit out of shape. But if you're trying, if you're doing your best, then it's going to be okay. Then I think it's going to be okay. Okay. I'm not a breaststroker and I've only swam it once. Well, that is such a blanket statement. Questions like this, how can I improve my 100 fly? How can I improve my 200 breast? I can't give like a direct answer because this is going to be something that is case by case, right? This is something that is going to be absolutely case by case. It's going to be different for everybody. But you asked how to improve your 200 breaststroke. The biggest thing that I would say is you have it's so funny that I'm thinking this because Lily and I were talking about this earlier today. But for a 200 breast, you have to be fit enough to have one of your best 50s of pace at the end of a race, which means you have to hurt yourself in practice on a regular basis. Like you have to make yourself basically fall apart and die in practice every once in a while to be strong enough to finish a really good 200 of any stroke, right? So sometimes we'll go into a set and we'll look at each other and we'll be like, all right, we're going to die. We're going to fly and we're going to die. And that's okay. Like that's part of what makes great swimming, right? Is going through that pain. You got to put yourself through that pain. All right. Next question. Next question comes to us from Addie, who says, I had you sign my rubber chicken at the MD ISL meet. Any chance you remember me? Haha. Yes. Addie, I remember signing your rubber chicken. I think I put it in my vlog. I've signed a lot of strange things in my life over the course of my strange career. The rubber chicken was a highlight. That was a good one. I always love it when people have odd things for me to sign because that like automatically increases the likelihood of people getting into the vlog. But yeah, I remember that was cool. Okay. Abby Benton also asks, did Carol Baskin kill her husband? Yeah, that's a Tiger King reference. For those of you who have seen Tiger King, you probably understand that. I think she probably did. I think that the overwhelming likelihood is that she did kill her husband and maybe fed him to the tigers or something. But I think it's more likely that she did than didn't. Yeah, I really enjoyed Tiger King. That was a crazy, as gross as I feel saying I enjoyed it, but it was a well-made documentary, no doubt. Next question comes to us from Wiley Kearney. I know I just murdered. I'm sorry. What drill can I do to improve / make faster my breaststroke turns? Well, I don't think that there are really any turn drills. Like there are a lot of turn progressions that you can do. It's hard to talk about drills and swimming stuff right now, and we can't swim. But here's one tip I will give as far as having fast turns. I learned this from watching guys like Chad Leclos and Tom Shields, watching their turns at like short course world championships. I've noticed that instead of coming in and touching the wall and going straight back, a lot of the fastest guys in the world, and this is something that I adopted myself, come in, touch the wall, and they go at an angle. They automatically start rotating. And the second their hands leave the wall, they bring their knees up at a sideways angle to position yourself to leave the wall in the best possible position. So you want to position yourself that when you push off the wall, you're flat, right? Like you leave the wall and you're flat. That way there's none of this. You're not pushing off the wall and rotating. You're pushing off the wall and going relative straight. And the way to do that is to go in from a sideways angle and really twist and pivot yourself underwater. I'm telling you, that's how the fastest people in the world do it. Okay. Next question comes to us from Sylvia. And Sylvia says, what is the hardest practice you have ever done in your career? And have you ever thrown up during / after practice because it was so hard? I have vomited multiple times at practice. Multiple times. I remember my sophomore year of college, maybe my my sophomore year of college. I had a conditioning practice at the weight room in the morning, and then shortly after that, we had to go to a swim practice. And I went home, and because I was an idiot and I was like, a 19-year-old kid in college, the only thing we had in my fridge was pizza. So I ate some pizza, and then I went to swim practice, and like 500 meters into the red set that we were doing, I felt so sick. I got out of the pool. I was going to go to the bathroom because I felt nauseous, and I just vomited everywhere. It was bad. And then once I vomited, I felt way better. It was over. And then there was another time in high school where me and my buddy Sam Weezer, we used to go to we used to go to Wendy's and get this spicy chicken sandwich, which was $1, and it was delicious. And we used to go after practice, as like a treat for ourselves. But one day, like I really needed food, and I went to Wendy's and I got a spicy chicken sandwich, and I ate it before practice. And shortly into practice, I got sick and I vomited. And that is basically when I learned not to eat fast food or unhealthy food before practice. And obviously I made that mistake one or two more times after that. But yeah, I have thrown up in practice before. I feel like everyone needs to do it like at least once, just to really understand and appreciate, Next question comes to us from Austin. And Austin says, wanted to know what you think about the Swimming Hall of Fame, and is this a goal of yours post-retirement? So the Swimming Hall of Fame, I believe, is located in Florida, and we've gone to visit them a couple times, and I think it's pretty close to the Swimming Hall of Fame that I've never been to before. I've always really wanted to go, and I know that recently they just renovated it, and it's supposed to be really awesome. But I have not checked that out yet. But I definitely have that on my list of things to do. And I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head, but someone who works with the Swimming Hall of Fame and maybe Swimming World, I was talking to them at a meet just a few months back about going and checking it out and like maybe doing a video there or something like that, which could be super cool. But yeah, I've never been. As far as being in the Swimming Hall of Fame, I don't even know what it takes. Like I don't know enough about it. Like what it takes to be in the Swimming Hall of Fame. Like I don't know. Like as far as my swimming accomplishments go, as far as like my swimming career, like I've already done everything that I ever thought that I would do. And yes, I still have goals. I still have objectives. I still want to go fast times. I still want to win more medals. I still want to compete and do the ISL and all these things. But like being in the Swimming Hall of Fame is never something that I ever really even thought about. It would be an honor. It would be really, really cool, but it's not like in the forefront of my mind, but I do really want to go check it out sometime. I do. And I think that I will. Yeah. Next time I'm in Florida visiting Ali's parents, probably. Next question comes to us from Sean McMahon or Mohan McMahon. Either way. Hey, Cody, I'm from Ireland. That's super cool. Ali really wants to visit Ireland. She is part Irish. And we'll probably do that someday. I'm from Ireland and a huge fan. My question for you is, I recently have succeeded in IMs at a national level, but my coach makes me train distance most of the time, and I feel it stops me from improving on my main events. What should I do? Well, as an IMer, particularly a 400 IMer, right? If you're doing the 400 IM, then you need to be doing some distance. Like that no coach would dispute that. If you are a 400 IMer, of what you're doing. But I will say that I think that there is a lot of crossover between people who swim IM and people who train a fair amount of distance. I really do. You can go across the board. Look at the best IMers in the world historically. All of them did a lot of distance. A lot of them did. I mean, just off the top of my head, the three fastest 400, obviously this is 400, but the three fastest 400 IMers in the world that I can think of, you've got Daisato of Japan, obviously Chase Kalish, you've got Phelps, and you've got Lochte. All four of those guys did a lot of distance and a lot of grinding. And the same is said for the 200 IM. So, I hope that you're able to work that out with your coach and figure out, because the most important thing is, you have to believe in what you're doing. You have to believe that what you're doing is going to work for you. So you've got to figure that kind of stuff out. But I do think that those things kind of go hand in hand. I would say talk to your coach. Next question comes to us from Gray, and Gray says, "Hi Cody, I am a swimmer, but also got into running last year too. I ended up doing a couple of kids triathlons and loved it. I know you run as part of your training. Have you ever / would you ever consider doing a triathlon?" Gray from Michigan. Yes, I have thought more recently about doing a triathlon than I've ever thought about before. I do think that one day I will do a triathlon, 100%. Probably when I'm done, like really competitively swimming, but seeing that my running is better than I thought it would be. And I'm pretty good on a bike. Like I don't have a whole lot of cycling experience, but I triathlete, like reasonably. So yes, someday, absolutely. All right, thank you so much. Next question comes from Yasmin and Yair. start small. If you're not used to working out, if you're not used to running, don't set off to run 10 miles in one day. Work your way into it, build into it. Just like anything else. Just like, if you met someone who never swam before, you wouldn't say, all right, you need to swim 5,000 yards right now. That's not how it works. Slowly build into it. That's what I would say. Next question comes to us from Cheryl Richardson, who says, what made you decide to start your swimming blogs? Great question. I've always been a huge fan of film, and particularly the art of filmmaking. So much so that I really wanted to study film at school. But ultimately, when I came to Indiana, my number one priority was making the Olympics and swimming fast, and we didn't have a film school. There is a media department that does more of that stuff now, but it didn't exist at the time. And after Worlds in Budapest in 2017, I felt the inkling and the urge to do something outside my comfort zone, something that I'd never done before, something creative. Because all of my pursuits in my life have always been physical. It's always been swim fast, win races, set records, those types of things. But I got to a point where I felt like I wanted something different for a variety of reasons. Honestly, I was kind of down on myself. And I thought, I want to learn how to make a movie. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make a swimming documentary. I just decided I was going to make a swimming documentary. And then through my research of how to make a documentary, how to make a swimming documentary, how to edit things, how to shoot video, I came across the world of vlogging on YouTube. And I thought it was fascinating. I found all these professional vloggers that do it for life, that do like weekly vlogs, daily vlogs, whatever. And it clicked. I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to make a vlog. And initially, I was just planning on doing one, right? Like my first vlog ever was just day in the life of an Olympic swimmer. And I had no expectations for it. I was super nervous. I didn't know what I was doing. I bought editing software. I bought a computer and I bought a camera, and I just taught myself how to do it. And it was so much more popular than I thought it was going to be. It kind of blew up, and I was like, okay, I'm going to make another because it was fun. I want to see if I could make a better one, make another cool one. And I kept making them. And then eventually it grew into this thing that I do regularly. And now it's really changed my life in a way that it's provided me with sponsors. It's going to help me continue swimming for a number of years, which is great. But yeah, it basically came from a love of just like learning how to edit film. Like that was my biggest intrigue. I want to try to do that. Thank you for the question. I love talking about that kind of stuff. Okay. Next question comes to us today from Kevin Z. And Kevin Z writes, hi, Cody. I am a high school student from an international school in Beijing. Very cool. I have been swimming competitively for some time now. Do you have any tips on how to improve mentally? Because I am sometimes hesitant to sign up for events that I'm bad at. Thanks. Yes. Embrace the suck. Understand that things are going to be hard and suck and difficult, and that is going to make you better. That is going to make you stronger. I promise you that. Growing up, my club coach, Ron, I feel like I've talked about Ron a lot today, made me do every single event at least once a year. I had to do the mile every year. I had to do the tuner fly every year. I had to do the 500 freestyle every year, at least once a year, all the time. So just accepting that things are going to be hard automatically makes it a little bit better, in my opinion. Also, I think that the better you get at doing other things, the stronger your strengths get. I really do. I think that the more well-rounded you are, the better off you are. And find gratification out of doing things that you like, that are hard, that you're not good at, right? Like doing things that challenge you physically and mentally make you stronger and make you more well-rounded. So, that's kind of what I have to say. Thank you for the question. Next question comes to us from Cameron Kennedy, who says, any tips on how to improve your breaststroke time? Also your underwaters off the walls. Well, as I said, this is a little too vague of a question, how to improve your breaststroke time. But as far as underwaters off your wall, this is going to sound generic, but you have to have a ridiculously tight streamline. And that is so underrated. And so I see club swimmers all over the place just pushing off the wall and coming up, or having like kind of a weak streamline. You got to have a super, super tight streamline, right? Your ears should be right in between your arms. Having the best body position coming off the wall, that is what's going to help you improve when we're able to get back in the water and swim again. Thanks for the question. Next question comes to us from Astrid, and Astrid writes, what are some good arm workouts? I saw you try swim Iowa when you threw your cap at, oh, you saw me in Iowa when I swam. Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, I most of the time, actually not most of the time, all the time, when I go to a competition now, when I'm done racing, I give out all my caps. So whoever finds me first gets my caps. I usually throw them up into the stands. And then when I'm leaving, I've got a couple more in my bag. I give those out. As far as arm exercises, like I would imagine that you mean like, pulling exercises and things that are somewhat related to swimming. You can't go wrong with doing push-ups. You can't go wrong with doing burpees. You can't go wrong with doing scat push-ups. There are hundreds of professional athletic trainers online on YouTube that are giving out crazy good body weight, do yourself at home exercises. You can go check that stuff out. That's like, it's one of the most beautiful things in the world right now is that like the power of the internet is connecting so many people. And if you want to find a killer workout for you to do by yourself at home, you can find one. They're out there. Thank you for the question. The next question comes to us from Anonymous, and Anonymous says, talk about when you finished third at Rio and your celebration after the finals. Go nuts. Well, yeah. A funny thing, I didn't realize that here in America, they've been rebroadcasting old Olympic races. And just a couple days ago, they rebroadcasted my race, and I didn't know. And I opened my Instagram like the next day, and I had hundreds and hundreds of people tagging me in like videos of them recording their TV of me finishing my race. And like, that was really cool. It was kind of cool to like relive that. There's no way I could have watched that on TV that night. I like wouldn't have been able to sleep. Like watching those kinds of things excite me way too much, to the point where I would not be able to sleep. I'd be too riled up. Like I'd be too jacked. I'd be too excited. As I was at the games, like when I won, like when I won that medal, my first Olympic medal, I was pumped just to be there. I was pumped just to be at the games, like just to make it. And for me to be on a podium with Adam Peaty, who is far and away the fastest breaststroker ever, and Cam Vandenberg, the previous world record holder and the previous Olympic champion, like, and then me, like I'm like a 5'11", not the most talented, never been the best American breaststroker ever. And then all of a sudden I set the record. Like, that's why I celebrated so hard. It was like, that was the greatest thing that could have ever happened, I think that people need to celebrate their victories more regularly. I think that is needed. I try to do that. I try to celebrate those victories. Next question comes to us from Talia Begg, who says, thank you so much for all your vlogs. You're really funny and super awesome. Thank you. I try. Can you give a shout out to my club, Wolverine in Ann Arbor, Michigan? Do you miss your swimming friends, and how do you deal with it? I really miss my friends. Club Wolverine. Oh my gosh. Yeah. What's up, everybody out there? I've had a lot of friends that have swam on Club Wolverine in Michigan. As far as dealing with missing my teammates, which I know a lot of you guys are, for me, I've been spending a fair amount of time playing video games, where fortunately I'm on Xbox Live and I can talk to my friends so I can be social with them. But I'm just staying in constant communication through text messages, through threads. We're sending each other pictures of our shoes before we go for runs. We're texting each other little workouts that we're doing at home to like kind of motivate one another at home. Like you can still, even though you can't see your friends every day, like you can still motivate one another, and you can still talk with one another, and you can still help one another and be positive with one another. And that's kind of what we're trying to do, right? Like we're trying to still stay connected. I know that a lot of people are doing Zoom meetings. I have been a part of a lot of Zoom meetings this week, which has been great. I've talked to a lot of clubs. And obviously my college team here has been doing Zoom meetings, those types of things. So, anything we can do to just kind of stay connected. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And once again, what's up, everybody? And our next question comes to us. We're almost done here, guys. Our next question comes to us from Will Grant, who says, hi, Cody, love the vlogs. Do you think short course meters will be more of a focus in the US because of the ISL from the other side of the pond in the UK? Awesome question, Will. Awesome question. So, number one, short course meters is not swam here in America really at all. But I do know from some inside sources that there are plans to slightly change that on the professional level. There have been talks and discussions amongst the higher ups at USA Swimming of holding short course meets, high level competitions. Like we're talking like US Open, US Nationals, those types of things. So yes, I do think that will change in time. I really, really do, because the old model of USA Swimming selection criteria of sending swimmers to short course world championships, which is short course meters, and not having a trials, and just sending swimmers that they pick from teams that were swimming long course the previous summer, I think that is going to change because it needs to. It's just, that's what needs to happen. So yes, to answer your question, yes, I do. And I'm kind of excited about that. I think it'll be cool. Okay, let's see. It looks like we've got 2 more questions here. This next one comes to us from Tony B533, who says, "Hey Cody, love your vlogs. Thank you so much. I appreciate your tip, the $50 tip. That's great. Thank you so much for I love it when people are just writing in to say thanks, say hi, be positive. I really, really appreciate that. That's awesome. Thank you." And our last question of the day comes to us from Sean. And Sean says, "Hey Cody, it's Sean again from Ireland. Just wondering if you would ever start coaching in your career after you retire. P.S. If you ever come to Ireland, make sure you DM me. I can recommend the best stuff to do around the country." Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. Coaching. Maybe someday. I've put a lot of thought into that. I certainly could see myself coaching in the NCAA if the circumstances were right. Because I love the sport. I love giving back. I love helping people get better. Absolutely. So I do think that's a possibility. Do I think that it will happen? I don't know. I will tell you, I can't get into specifics, but I have had opportunities that I've turned down because I'm, still competitively swimming. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. As of right now, I'm taking it 1 year at a time. Taking my career 1 year at a time, and we'll see what the future holds. But maybe. And yeah, I would totally love to visit Ireland someday. So thank you so much for the question. That's it. I believe that is it. So let me just refresh one more to make sure I didn't miss anybody. I don't think that I missed anybody. Yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, wow, we went a full hour. That went a little bit longer than I thought. Thank you everyone for donating. I really appreciate it. Once again, all those tips are going to go to COVID. I keep wanting to call it COVID. Are going to go to COVID relief. Let's see. So I think I'm going to do more of these live streams. I'm going to try and work out a time where I know that I can do it on a weekly basis at a specific time. And I'll let you guys know what that is. But once again, the best way to get, if you want to guarantee that your question gets answered by me on one of these live shows, when I put up a post like 24 hours in advance, you guys can click that Stream Elements link and drop in your question. So even if you can't watch live, you can get your question answered by me. And it might even be one of the first questions, which is super awesome. Also, the super chat function on YouTube allows people to donate money as well. And I think that if you're a YouTube Premium member, which I'm a YouTube Premium member because I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I don't like ads. So with YouTube Premium, you don't have ads. And I believe with YouTube Premium, you get like a couple dollars in free super chats, which means you can you can drop in a comment with a couple dollars to your favorite creator or show or whatever you're watching. And for this case, for the Cody Miller Show. And I could use super chats. So I would guarantee that a super chat question got answered. So yeah, I think this is really good because, as I said, I don't have a way to get through all the emails. I don't have a way to get through everything everybody sends me. It's physically not possible. Like I can't do it, but I think this method is good. I think that this was cool. And if I get a lot of good feedback, I'll keep doing this stuff. If there are more questions that didn't get answered for some reason, if they didn't get loaded, I promise they'll be the first one answered on next week's show. Okay. I think, because I've seen a couple of people in the comment section saying that they did drop something in, but I'm refreshing and I'm not seeing anything new. So hang on, let me sift. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything new right now. So if something does come through, I promise there'll be the first question answered on the next show. And if you want to get a main topic on the show, right? Like the first portion of the show, if you want to get a main topic, send me an email to TheCodyMillerShow@gmail.com. That's TheCodyMillerShow@gmail.com. And please put the description of your question in the description link of the email so that I know what it is, so that when I'm sifting through, I kind of know what we're looking for here. So let me know. That would be great. Yeah, thank you guys so much. As always, make sure you're following me on social media at Swim Miller on Twitter and at Cody Miller on Instagram. Vlogs every Wednesdays. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel and share my swimming videos with your swimmer friends, especially ones that maybe don't watch stuff regularly or don't know. Like, hopefully we can find ways to keep each other entertained. We can find ways to support one another and kind of get through this time together as a big swimming family, which is kind of the goal. So yeah, thank you guys so much. And until my next video, I will see you guys later. That's it. Did it. Nailed it.